Welcome to Life Change Solutions, a podcast for hope, health, and happiness. Today, I have a very special guest with me. It's a friend that I met soon after I moved to Florida. And there's these friends that you meet that you think that maybe the universe puts you together, or God, or a higher power, and they're there at the right time and the right place. Well, that's how this friend tonight that we have, I'm just so excited to have her because I've been wanting to have her, and this is the first moment that she's had free. I'd like to introduce you to Michelle Page. Michelle met me in water aerobics, actually, and I just happened to mention that I was going through a divorce, and after she came up to me and she said, "Hey, I just went through a divorce. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here for you." And it was exactly what I needed at the right time, in the right place. And she helped me through that really difficult change in my life. And so as time went on, we helped each other through a myriad of changes. So I would like to just tell you a little bit about her. When I met her, she was a guardian ad litem. And I was just so impressed with how much dedication and time she put into those children. And I kept telling her, "You need to get paid for this. This is so much work. You should be doing this for a living." And forward 6 years later, she is in her master's program, getting a degree in as a licensed mental health
clinical
counselor.
mental health counselor.
Clinical mental health counselor. She's in her last semester, and she's been doing counseling for 7 months now with her internship. And she is, I honestly, she has a gift. She has a gift to listen and to know how to guide people through things. And she guided me through that divorce beautifully. And I don't know what I would have done without you, actually. So, Michelle, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about the changes that you've had in your life and how you got through them, because my podcast is all about change, and you have been through so many changes, to include divorce, your children going away to college, all in about the same time period, and then various career changes, and then some health, a lot of health issues, some serious health issues. And through it all, you have managed to just be graceful and positive and happy. And I'd like our listeners to learn a little bit about how you've done that. So let's start. Well, first, if anything I missed, can you just go ahead and let them know a little bit that maybe I missed something, and let them know a little bit about you and anything else that you would like to share, and then go into how you reinvented yourself, because I think that's a question that a lot of our listeners might like to hear. I've had several clients and a couple of, actually a guy friend who retired, and then it's like, oh, what now in my life? And I think you've experienced that. So if you could first tell us if I missed anything, and then maybe start with what happened after your divorce and after your children had left and you started to reinvent yourself, because I'm so impressed with how you just went into tried different things.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Kendra. Everything you said was so kind. I feel the same about you. I think you're an incredible person, and what you're doing on your podcast is really amazing. I've listened to a lot of them myself, and they're really inspiring. And so just thank you for all of your kind words towards me. And I'm trying to think if there's anything. I'm sure that there's something in there, and I could say so much more, but I think you have the basic idea of the different changes that I've had in my life in these more recent years. I'm looking so forward to graduating, which will be very soon. I'll have my master's degree in 2 months, and then I will move into postgraduate counseling.
And I know when I was at that stage in my getting my master's in social work, I was so excited. Oh, I can't wait for this to end. I'm so excited. Yes, I know how you feel because I have been there, and it is like, oh, And so it'll be there. And then you actually were there for my graduation. Do you remember this?
Oh.
You were there for my graduation and it poured after and we had to take off our shoes to get into the parking lot.
Yeah.
She was my only friend that came with me.
Oh, I was so proud of you.
I know.
Masters in social work.
I know.
Incredible.
I know. And you were there for it all. Thank you.
Of course.
As we walked through the parking lot in our bare feet.
Life experiences. It's all part of it, right?
It is.
So as far as my changes, I guess I can start back when I got divorced about 8 years ago. And when my kids went off to college, I think that was the first thing that you asked me about.
Yeah.
And I will say that that's a really common, both of those experiences are very common for people in general. And just because they're common experiences does not mean that they are easy experiences. And the things that I can think about that are in common that I did during that time when I went through both of those changes, I guess I would say that it was a lot of just getting out of bed and finding new things to do. Now, of course, at first, after my divorce, it was very difficult, as I'm sure it is for most people. And there were times where I didn't feel very happy and I didn't feel very good. And I had all of the emotions, which also very important to recognize that that's okay. It's okay to feel awful and all the things that aren't what we want.
Yeah, we've talked about that in this podcast before, that it's okay to feel those feelings, but not to sit with them too long, because then that's when you go into depression. And we talked about how what you did. Yes. And I loved one of those things was coming to water aerobics.
Yes, that was great. So I thought, all right, once I got through that to a degree where I can start doing things again, what am I going to do? And I thought I have to try some new things. One of them was going to a water aerobics, which is how we met.
I'm so happy you did. I can't even tell you. I'm so happy you did, because you were instrumental in being that person that I could go to. Mm-hmm. And just little tidbits of guidance that, oh, wow. It was like you were there at the right time, the right moment. I loved it.
I started going to water aerobics and I started going to yoga.
Oh, nice.
And I decided I wanted to go back to teaching, which I had done previously and had stopped for a time, and decided I need to update my credentials so that I can teach again. And that really occupied a lot of my time. And I think purpose was really, really crucial. So finding my purpose made such a big difference. I had a reason to get up and do my thing, and with an end goal of being able to help kids and teach kids. And that really made a really big difference for me.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned purpose, because we've mentioned that before in a couple of my podcasts, how important it is to have a purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, try new things or something new until you find that purpose for you. And that can change. And that changed for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that continued into my children growing up and going to college and finding those new experiences. And at the same time, recognizing that this is a good thing for them. They're leaving. It's a little sad for me, but it's good for them. It means that they're growing and they're going to live these beautiful lives. And it's positive that they're comfortable going that direction and being independent women. I have 2 daughters, as you know. So remembering those things as well.
And that doesn't mean that you don't sometimes miss them and you wish they would call more, because we've talked about that. Like, I haven't heard from them in a while, and you're just like, I'm their mom. They should call me. But then we look at those positive sides instead of sitting in that, woe is me, they're not calling me too. But they're living really good lives. And I love that you reframed that. And I've talked a lot about reframing, and I've seen you do that.
Yes. And finding my own life and what things bring me joy. Mm-hmm. And that purpose again. And the Guardian Ad Litem program has given me so much purpose.
And how did you get into that? How did you get into the Guardian Ad Litem? Because that is a lot of work. You would be doing literally social work. I mean, that is what it was. As you were doing it, I was going through my social work master's degree, and I was like, you are doing social work. You could get paid for this.
Well, part of finding purpose is, for me, how I can help others, how I can serve others. And because I had a background as a teacher, I really wanted to stick with the working with children. Yeah. And it's just one of those things, those Some people call them coincidences. Some people think they're more. For me, it feels like it was just a meant to be otherworldly, God, higher power, whatever whoever's listening to this wants to think of it. And it really led me to that place. It worked out where the right things happened in the right moments. And I saw this availability to volunteer for the Guardian Ad Litem program, and I went for it, and it worked out. And I felt so fulfilled working with the foster children that I worked with, and also working with the sometimes the biological parents. More often, it was the foster parents that I worked with, and just being that voice for the children, because they weren't able to express how they felt most of the time in a legal aspect. So I was able to be their voice and advocate for them, and whatever their needs were, I was able to meet or work towards having those needs met.
Yeah, and I'm so impressed because then that led to you getting your paralegal certificate, right?
Yeah. So see, I
you went from there, and then you're like, okay, I need to learn this. And I was just like, you're what? Wow. I was so impressed with that because that's a lot of work.
Well, it's just like I said, one thing tends to lead to the other, and that's just life. That's a life experience. And for me, it started with working with children as a teacher. It led to the Guardian Ad Litem program as an advocate for the kids. And that spilled into, oh, wow, this is a little more legal oriented than it is working with kids.
Right.
It was a little more involved.
Right.
And I gained this interest in that. But I really didn't want to become a lawyer. But I thought, okay, a paralegal I can handle. So then I went to school to earn my paralegal certification.
I know, you're so qualified in so many. And she got her notary. I've had her notarize things for me. I'm just like, this girl does everything. And so that was just a great thing because you've used that later on. Like when I've asked you legal questions, you said, oh, here, let me look this up for you.
Well, of course, I always say I am not an attorney and I'm not giving you legal advice because that is the true fact. I know what I know from very intelligent attorneys that taught the paralegal program.
Right.
But I certainly can't give any legal advice or anything like that. But it was a great learning experience and I enjoyed doing that for a while. But I realized it really wasn't for me. For other people, it's the perfect place to stop. But it didn't fulfill me in what I was looking for. As I told you before, purpose. I really feel the need to have a real purpose when I do what I do, whatever that happens to be. And that has really helped me move through these changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that our listeners should know, that you can try something and you've learned something, but it may not be your calling. It may be something that you can use in your next calling or in your life, but it may not be what you find purposeful. And so then you just went on to the next thing. And I was like, okay, then.
And I found the perfect thing for me.
Yeah.
And this is it.
Yeah.
Counseling.
Yeah. And you have a lot of clients right now. I'm so impressed with everything you're doing. And just having you listen to me when I was going through and throughout my whole studies, I just know you're doing wonderful things with your clients. And that brings me to the mind-body medicine.
Yes.
I've talked about mind-body medicine in several of my podcasts. Michelle introduced me to mind-body medicine, and it has been a life changer. I think for both of our lives, as we've gone through these changes, we've used it, but also all of our participants and our clients. I've used it with all of my clients. You probably use it with many of yours.
Absolutely. It's one of the top things that I use.
And it's something that I think our listeners would really like to learn a little bit more about. The interesting thing is when she was going through this, I was in my last semester of my social work degree, and I couldn't do it. And then I was really sad. And then they opened it up again, and I was able to get that certification. And then we were able to be facilitators together. And that was a wonderful experience for me. Can you tell me a little bit about how mind-body medicine, first of all, how you got into it and how it's changed your life?
Sure. Yes. Just like you, it really impacted me on a personal level. And through how it impacted me, I knew I really wanted to share this with other people. Just incredible. So just like I said earlier, again, call it a coincidence, call it otherworldly. I believe that I was just being led to this in this direction. A long story short, I happened to be on the phone with a foster parent, and I was sitting in a parking lot, circling back to the yoga. I was in the yoga parking lot, ready to go into a class, but I couldn't go into the class because the foster parent was in need, and I felt this was where I needed to be to help this person out. And so I'm missing the class. And so by the time I went into the yoga studio, it was a little late in the game, and usually it's very busy in the front area and you can't really talk to the person behind the desk. But on that particular day, because I was late and because things happened how they did, I was the only one in that room. And I said hello to the office manager, and I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm a guardian ad litem. I was talking to a foster parent, so I missed the class. I guess it's too late to go in." And she said, "Oh, since I'm not busy, can I give you this card?" And it was a card for this program, the Mind Body Medicine program.
What?
And that is how I got
have never heard this story.
Yes.
I can't believe I've never heard this story.
Yeah. And so if it wasn't for things unfolding just in that way, I wouldn't have known about it. And after doing all of the things that you need to do in order to get a spot within that program, I was able to get a spot. And that is how that happened.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And the program, incredible. It's, as you know, because you went through it as well, it's not just a couple weeks and you're done.
No,
it's a very long process.
It is to get that certification. In fact, we can tell our listeners that program is it's from the Center for Mind Body Medicine out of Washington, D.C. And James Gordon is the founder. He is a professor. He's also been all over the world to find skills and techniques to help people. Everything is evidence-based. And so all of these techniques that we've done in our 8-week classes are evidence-based. They help people so much. And I described a little bit about how we draw the pictures, and we talked a little bit about breathing. And so how have you used that in your life? I know that you've had some health issues. Was that able to help you with your health issues or the changes that you've been through?
Oh, so helpful. Really. It's beyond words how helpful it has been, from the basics of soft belly breathing to the more complicated areas, not complicated to do, but to explain on your podcast today, of course, but active meditation and guided meditation and
one of my favorites is shaking and dancing.
It's amazing. It's
I know. One of these times I want to do shaking and dancing on here. We'll have to do that sometime.
I would love to come back for that.
So I think that would be fun. But we may do a little bit of the breathing today. But I know that you had recently some health issues, and maybe you can share with us a little, as much as you want to. I know that's a sensitive issue, but maybe you can share with us a little bit about how'd you get through those and what exactly was going on?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going about life just like life is always happening, right?
Yeah.
Just like lots of people experience lots of different things, divorce, children moving away, all the things that we've been talking about, changing careers or needing to change careers in some people's cases. And just when things were going along in my master's program and everything seemed okay, I found out that I had a very serious health issue, and it really just took me by surprise. There was no reason for me having, sometimes there's sort of, you can like trace it back. Oh, X, Y, and Z happened and now I'm in this place. But in my case, it was really out of the
nowhere.
blue.
Yeah, out of nowhere. I talk about that as sometimes we have change and it's just thrust upon us. Mm-hmm. And then other times we desire to make changes. And some of these changes we've talked about already, you desired to make. And then this one was just all of a sudden thrust on you. Yes. And I remember because I went to the doctors with you and it was like, what?
It was out of this world.
Right.
And I was so grateful to have you there. Again, it was something that should not have been found. they found that I had a tumor on my left lung as a non-smoker and someone that's never been around chemicals, and really found out that this happens more often than most people realize to people.
Yeah, because it was through a, not through a normal, like they weren't even looking for it, right? They were looking for something else.
Unrelated. And that thing turned out to be perfect, 100% great. And then they said, but we did see something else. Now, the miracle of it all is that it was caught so early that I was able to have surgery and I'm 100% cancer-free. So it's a beautiful ending.
Wonderful.
So thank God. And it just worked out how it was meant to work out, as I said. In other cases, maybe people have a different outcome, and who knows why.
You still have a purpose left on this earth.
Absolutely.
And I think it is to be a counselor to many people. And to be on my podcast, of course.
Yes. Yes. And, I go for, checkups and so forth, and God willing, I won't have to deal with this again. But just for those people that might be listening that have a medical issue and maybe their situation has a different
outcome
circumstance right now, maybe even not the outcome, but like right now, their circumstance is not, oh, it's all gone or everything's fixed. I just think the mind-body medicine is so very helpful, even when I didn't know what was going to ultimately happen.
Yes, because you had to be, it was during the pandemic, and you had to be in the hospital, have the surgery. Nobody could come in, nobody could come visit you. So during those times you're there, what did you do to get through that? I mean, that had to be difficult.
I would say the hardest part was beforehand, knowing that the anxiety, and I can't even imagine someone who had, I don't know, just like, I don't want to minimize what mine was, but something even larger, a larger health issue that was, I don't want to identify anything, but just in general, mine was big, but it could have been worse.
Right.
And I can't even imagine, because the anxiety of the not knowing what's going to happen in the surgery was just, I've never experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
And you had said something to me that, really helped me. I mean, as your work as a therapist as well, even though it was as a friend.
I'm a friend therapist.
That's right. My friend therapist, Kendra, had this incredible idea, which was so extremely helpful to me at that time, which maybe some of your listeners might use.
Yeah.
So
tell me what I did. I don't know what I did yet. Tell me.
So you recommended that I write in a journal three sections. 1, 3 things that I accomplished in the day, 3 things I'm grateful for, and 3 things that I'm looking forward to tomorrow, or that I'm going to do tomorrow if there was nothing super exciting. And those things could be large or small. It could range for all of those categories. It can range from I'm grateful that I'm breathing to something really specific. It didn't really matter. It was just to write them down every day. And it really helped me to focus in on those areas. And thinking about what I would be doing the next day brought me to the next day as well.
Yeah.
And what I've accomplished. Just the whole thing was it was just really perfect. It was a great exercise. And I definitely
I did learn something.
It.
I did learn something in my
so much more than that.
Clinical social work.
That's just
I was able to help one person.
The mind-body medicine, the soft belly breaths.
Yeah.
So while I was there, it was very brief. You asked me how I got through the hospital part.
Right.
It was very, very brief.
Okay.
And I definitely, I brought my little journal and I continued to write when I could. I did look, and there were some times I had so much medication in me. I wrote, I can't write. And one time I just put a scribble because I couldn't physically write.
Yeah.
I was just too much medication, but just breathing, and I guess I was out of it a lot. And then when I got to leave, when I went in, I will say I used a lot of soft belly breaths because I was standing in line, having been dropped off because my loved ones weren't able to come inside with me to check me in.
I cannot imagine this, and how many people during the pandemic had similar situations. Thank goodness that is over. And this is such a great lead-in though to what I wanted to do on the podcast today. I've talked about soft belly breathing, but we've never shared it with our listeners. And I think our listeners might want to try it. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think we should. I think we should try and give them a little bit of background about soft belly breathing, what it does in our bodies, in our minds, and how it works. And then let's do maybe just a 1 or 2, 3 minute meditation. What do you think?
I think that sounds great.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to let you tell our listeners. So in our groups, this is kind of how we would do it, is I would say, okay, Michelle is going to share with us a little excerpt about how soft belly breathing works.
Okay, I'm going to give you a very compact explanation, just so you know the basics.
Okay.
Which is, there's something in our body called the vagus nerve, and it starts in our brain and moves down into our stomach area. And when that is calm and relaxed, our whole bodies feel better. It decreases anxiety and it decreases stress levels. And that's the basics of it. When our bodies have anxiety because we have the fight or flight response where something happens that causes us to feel anxiety or stress, which we can go into maybe another time, or you can with somebody else about the fight or flight response or freeze.
Yeah.
That's when the vagus nerve is often impacted. So by practicing soft belly breathing and other mindfulness skills, it can really relax the vagus nerve. And when that nerve is relaxed, it just feels so much better. And although it doesn't take away everything that's going on, it can make it a lot easier to manage during those difficulties.
So yeah, I think when things build up to the point where you can no longer function or you can no longer think clearly or focus, then that soft belly breathing can help us just get back. And instead of reacting, we can get back and be calm and then be proactive. And I talk a lot about, instead of reacting, being proactive. And if we can calm down. And I like to also describe to people, sometimes have you ever felt like you have butterflies in your stomach? Well, you actually do have a brain in your stomach, and that vagus nerve goes up to your brain and it goes down to your stomach. And so that's how it works. It's this nerve that goes back and forth and gives signals. So sometimes when you have those butterflies in your stomach, that can calm down the stomach. And we've had that in our groups where, in fact, my first podcast, Yadira talked about how tight her stomach was. And then she, after learning how to do soft belly breathing, it relieved that. And she was able to use that, and she's never had that tightness again. She's able to use that soft belly breathing.
Amazing.
Right? And then we had one who had IBS. Do you remember that?
Yes.
She had IBS, and she was able to really decrease the symptoms of the IBS by using soft belly breathing.
And we always have our breath, right?
Right. And do you remember we had a young man in our group who had a lot of anxiety with school, and he was like 15, I think. And he used the breathing. He used to get test anxiety, and he used the breathing to be able to take his tests. So let's do it.
Okay. All right.
So, if our listeners could sit comfortably in a chair, uncross your legs, feet on the floor, and just close your eyes for a minute, or look at just one spot and take a deep breath in and then exhale. And when we breathe in, we breathe in through our nose. So we inhale through the nose and then exhale through your mouth. So we're going to inhale through our nose and exhale through our mouth. And I'm going to let Michelle go ahead and guide us in that.
Okay. Well, by now you should be seated somewhere comfortably. And as Kendra mentioned, with your feet flat on the floor, if that's comfortable for you and uncrossed, that will ground you to the floor, and it just creates a really calm feeling in the body as you continue breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And perhaps place your hands on your lap or to your sides, whatever feels best for you. And take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in each time, you can think in your mind, soft. And as you breathe out each time, you can think belly. And you can continue doing this while I'm speaking. And for some of you, it will feel very natural, and for others, it may feel a little unusual. And just go with it if you're comfortable with that. And as you're breathing these soft belly breaths, each time you say belly in your mind, as you breathe out, notice your stomach. Notice if your stomach feels tense or tight. We often hold a lot of tension there. And if it does feel those ways for you, set the intention to relax your stomach. Release. And we're going to do a quick body scan from your head to your toes while you're continuing soft belly breaths. And I'll guide you through, moving to the top of your head. Just be aware of any feelings you are having. And if anything feels tense in your head, your forehead, or the top part of your face, imagine all of that tension melting away. And now moving down your face to your jaw, your lower half of your face. We can hold tension in our jaw as well. And so if you feel there is any tightness or tension, relax. Sometimes it can help to open your mouth just a little drop for a moment to release that jaw. And now moving into your neck and your shoulders. Relax your neck and notice if your shoulders feel up towards your ears. And if so, just drop them as you continue soft belly breaths. It's very gentle, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now into your back, mid-back, lower back. And just like the other places, you might hold tension in one of these spots on your back. If you notice anything feels tight, imagine all of that tightness releasing, disappearing into the air, and replacing it with just a calm. And moving into your upper legs, thighs, relax. If you notice any tension, imagine it disappearing into the air, into your knees and your lower legs, your calves. And continue those soft belly breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And all the way down to your feet. Relax your feet, your ankles, your toes. And anything in your body now, just scan your whole body. Anywhere where you feel any tension or tightness, imagine it flowing all the way through your body down to your feet and out through your toes, disappearing into the air, and it is gone. Maybe for another 20 seconds, you can relax in silence. Just enjoy this time. And now, beginning to come back to the space you are in, feeling your body in the chair, noticing your feet on the floor, and your hands in your lap or to your sides. And perhaps adjusting your body a little. And if you want, you can do a little bit of a stretch. Stretch out your arms, your fingers, feet, and toes. You can circle your ankles and your wrists if you want. Anywhere else you want to stretch. And when you are ready, you can gently open your eyes. And that's a soft belly breath body scan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel relaxed. I hope our listeners do too. And you can go back and listen to this podcast anytime you want if you need to have a little calm and do our soft belly breathing. Also, we are going to start some groups as soon as you're done with your degree. We're going to start a group in February. If any of our listeners are interested, we would love for you to participate. And you can do so by messaging us. Personally, I have a Facebook page called My Life Change Solutions. Also, you can email me at kmcrumpton57@gmail.com. And then also Michelle has an email if you'd like to talk with her about her expertise or any questions you have for her. Hers is me.wellness.31@gmail.com. And then also I will have these posted in the notes in our podcast today. We're excited to be able to hold mind-body medicine groups again. We held off while Michelle was doing her degree, and we are going to start up in February. Hopefully, with some of you listeners, we're going to do it on a Zoom. And we've had great success over the pandemic doing it on Zoom.
Yes.
Great groups. And people from all over the country, even out of the country, have participated in our groups. And it's been wonderful. So we would like to offer that to any of you. So if you are interested, please private message us and let us know. Well, Michelle, I'm excited about having a group with you and having our listeners join our group. I hope that they will. And I want to thank you for coming on to the show tonight because I know that you are really busy doing this master's program. So thank you for leading us in that meditation.
You're welcome. I was so happy to be here today. Thank you for inviting me. And I love your podcast. I am a listener.
Thank you. Are you a follower, though? The important thing is you not only listen, you got to click the follow button.
I'm a follower.
Yay, yay.
Thank you so much, Kendra. I really appreciate what you're doing and for having me on today.
Well, thank you. And I just want to let everyone know how grateful I am for all of my followers and listeners. And please share this podcast with others that may need a little hope, health, and happiness in their lives and may need a little inspiration and motivation. I'm so grateful again for Michelle and for all of you. May you have hope, health, and happiness in your journey. And again, I will be putting all of our information in the notes. So please look at the notes if you haven't. And don't forget, leave that review and 5 stars. Thank you.